It is good to come together for the purpose of co-creating. Do you agree?
Yes.
You are looking forward to taking thought beyond that which it has been before?
Yes.
You're looking forward to catching up with the thought that has already moved forward?
Yes.
You're looking forward to letting yourself be who you have already become?
Yes.
You're looking forward to understanding who you are?
Yes.
Would you like to know who we are? Well, we are not so different, because you are extensions of that which we are. We represent the non-physical group who's gathered here. You can't see them, but as the day moves forward, you will feel us. You will feel your inner being who is never far from where you are. But when you focus in an environment like this, where you hear resonant words with that which the broader part of you knows, as you listen and relax into non-resistance, or more allowing of your natural vibrational frequency, in other words, as you feel better and better, you then are able to consciously, physically feel your connection with the non-physical aspect, not only of you, but of all that we all are. You are so much more than you know here in these physical bodies. And while you are in these physical bodies, you are important to the process of all. You started out as source energy, but when you came into this body, you did not cease being source energy. You remain source energy. In fact, the larger part of you remains source energy. It's but a small part of the consciousness that is really you, that is focused into the personality that you know as you. So as you are here focused in this personality, in this magnificent being, in this leading edge, time and space, reality, meaning you decipher where you are through your physical senses, and then you proclaim it reality. You proclaim it reality usually only as far as you come into agreement. In other words, if one of you speaks of a reality that others can't see, they take you to the funny farm. The people who count reality as that which is manifested, they want it to be so stable that everyone can see it. And so if it's real, that's why they call it real. If it's real, then it's visible. Then we can see it and hear it and smell it and taste it and touch it. But if we cannot see it or hear it or smell it or taste it or touch it, then it's not real. And yet you waver in that attitude to some degree. Your dog hears and smells things that you don't want to hear or smell. And yet you don't take it to dog training classes. Oh, dog of mine, you are departing from reality and I'm worried about you. You don't announce to your neighbors, I have a very strange dog. He barks over nothing and sniffs around in places where there is nothing to smell. I've gone to that same place, got on my hands and knees and sniffed around, and I do not know what holds his interest. Come, smell here, see what you think. See what you think. You accept that your dog is more highly developed in its ability to hear and smell. You accept that the fly, although you don't talk to them often, can see. Your scientists have checked out their eyes and found them to be remarkable. And so there is a variable in the way you perceive this time-space reality. If you've ever been part of an eyewitness account of anything, you have to acknowledge that what you saw varied from what others saw. And so in some small ways, humans are beginning to understand that there is more than meets the eye to reality. And we're wanting you to understand that there's a whole lot more to reality than you can see. We also want you to understand that even though you can't necessarily see it with your eyes or hear it with your ears, it is perceivable. You have the ability to perceive beyond your physical senses. And that's really what this gathering is about. We want you to acknowledge the vibrational being that you are, and we want to help you tune to the frequencies of vibration so that you can consciously perceive. Because when you are consciously perceiving beyond the physical reality that you can see, now and only now are you being who you are and living as you intended when you came forth. So here's the big picture. You were source energy before you came into this body, and here you came. Splat. And even though you are here in this physical body, the larger part of you remains non-physical and continues to perceive also. So this non-physical part of you remains while the physical part of you bees. And in your physical body, you do as you knew you would do. You explore contrast and you expand. Because from your personal perspective, you selfishly acknowledge all day, every day, what would be better for you from your vantage point of perceiving. Now, it's not just you, the human, who has this brain that you focus as your perception. The cells of your body are perceiving also. Every point of consciousness, even the consciousness in the stone and in the dirt, or in the beast, or in the flowers, or in the human, every point of consciousness, even if it is a one-celled organism, is perceiving, and from that perception, acknowledging from selfish point of view what would be better than what is. It's what the evolution of all species is about. It's what the expansion of the universe is about. So when you, from your conscious perspective, acknowledge that the world isn't as you want it to be in this way or this way or this way or this way, you launch an equivalent desire for it to be better in this way and this way and this way and this way. And all day, every day, you are asking and therefore expanding into those new places. Now, the reason that we say so unequivocally that you are asking and receiving and becoming and going into those new places is because we stand with the non-physical part of you who rides the rocket of each and every request. When you ask for something, it is given. And by that we mean, if your life experience in this time-space reality causes you to identify a problem in the moment, in the moment that you identify the problem, there is an equivalent solution that is born. Now, you can't see it, just like you can't smell what the dog smells. You can't see it, just like you can't hear what the dog hears. But you have launched it, and it bees, and the larger part of you not only sees it and hears it and smells it and tastes it and touches it. Well, we don't do that because we don't have any of those faculties, but we know it. We know it, and we be it, and we be with it. That's the most important thing. In other words, the larger part of you becomes the solution to your problem in the moment you identify your problem. Don't you love that? Don't you love knowing that in this universe of equal duality, that when you know what you don't want, you know what you do want, at least to the degree that you know you don't want it, to that degree you know that you do want it. Now, there's going to be more and more and more degrees to knowing that you don't want it, just like there will be more and more and more degrees to that which you do want. There is constant expansion, but right here, right now, life showed you what you want by knowing what you don't want. This contrast causes you to focus. So, what you do want, the solution, the answer to the question that is posed, the solution to the problem that is posed, it exists vibrationally in a potentially perceivable status. Now, as far as we are concerned, because we're like your dog in the sense that we can hear what you can't hear and smell what you can't smell, we get the solution that you have asked for. We perceive it, we know it, we be it, we hold the vibration of it. Now, you got to understand, we are you. In other words, what we just said to you is the larger part of you perceives it and knows the solution right now. But you, in your awareness of the problem, hold yourself vibrationally oblivious to the solution, at least while the problem's really active within you. Don't you like that way of explaining it? You're so involved in the I need an answer that I don't have, that even though the larger part of you has the answer, you can't find it because you haven't trained yourself into the vibrational frequency where it is. But it's not hard to do that. It is not hard to train yourself into the frequency of where the answers are. It's what faith is. It's what positive expectation is. But we think an explanation like the one we're giving you is really helpful because it helps you to understand that the answer is there, and it might just cause you to try a little harder to tune yourself to the answer rather than writhing so significantly in the problem. Because the vibration of the problem and the vibration of the solution are very different vibrations. Just like you can't set your radio dial on 6:30 a.m. and hear what's being broadcast on 98.7 FM, the frequencies have to match up. So you can't set your frequency on I don't have enough money and find the path to the money. You can't set your frequency on I'm sick, my body doesn't feel good, and they took an x-ray or a blood test that says I have something horrible, and find the solution, even though the larger part of you has already found the solution. So that means the sicker you are, the weller you are. Who knew? We knew. The larger part of you knows. That's why when you feel sick and you're afraid of the sickness, fear is your indicator that what you know is different than what you know. In other words, the reason that you feel negative emotion every single time is because in your attention to whatever it is that is producing the negative emotion within you, you have a different vantage point and are offering a whole different signal than the source within you is offering about the same subject at the same time. So, source, who you really are, loves. And when you find reason not to love, you don't feel good. Hate or anger or blame, those emotions are your indicator that you're not smelling it like source is smelling it. You get the sense of what we're talking about. You're not seeing it the way the source sees it. And whenever your life has caused you to see something in a new way, and you keep looking at it in the old way, you don't feel good. You're not keeping up with you. So the fear you feel, the negative emotion you feel, is not because of the wrong that you are witnessing. It's because you're using that wrong as a reason to disagree with who you are. For example, when you see someone, maybe a murderer, maybe a molester, maybe a bully, when you see someone behaving that way, as you look at that, you feel awful. Source doesn't feel awful. But here's why. When you look at the bully, you are afraid for yourself, maybe, or afraid for your society. Source isn't. Source is not worried about society coming to an end because of this behavior. Now, we want you to understand, Source doesn't like the bullying. Source doesn't like the murdering. But Source doesn't focus upon those things in a way that causes disempowerment or in a way that causes an awareness of not well-being. We're not asking you to look at unwanted things that all your life you've called bad and suddenly start calling them good. That's not what the art of allowing is. We want you to focus yourself in the direction of what you believe is good. We want you to use excuses to align with who you are, not excuses to misalign with who you are. In other words, Source knows so completely the well-being because Source understands the big picture. That when you find something to fuss and worry about and you exaggerate it in order to try to prove some point that some condition needs to be altered so that you will feel better, you always get off track or off signal from the source within you because source within you does not ask one thing to be different in order for well-being to be maintained. Because source understands in diversity there is expansion and that well-being dominates. So predominantly dominates. In other words, there is so much well-being in relationship to not well-being. Hard for you to know it as you look through your physical eyes at your physical television and watch your physical CNN programming. 24-hour news cycle that goes all around the world and looks for everything that is troubling and brings it to you with drama and music. Funnels it to you disproportionately, makes big things out of little things. Do you feel the trouble they're having in whooping up the swine flu epidemic, in other words? So as you understand that well-being is dominant, but you find a little piece of something that is evidence of not well-being, and you blow it out of proportion in that you give your undivided attention for it to it for a moment in time, you use it as your excuse not to align with source. And when you use anything as your excuse not to align with source, not to see it as source sees it, you feel the separation is too strong of word, but you feel the pinching off. You feel the resistance that you have offered to the mix of your vibration.